Let us talk about uh, effectiveness of fiscal policy. Effectiveness of fiscal policy in a fixed exchange rate economy with partial mobility of capital. Right? We are going to discuss this topic. Again, I will be using four panel diagram that we were using earlier. Let us draw the diagram. Okay. Fiscal policy, it means we are going to increase the public expenditure, and so we are going to shift the IS curve from IS naught to IS 1. Okay. Let us write the axis, the rate of interest R, level of income Y, level of income Y, and here also level of income Y, change of axis Y, exchange rate E, exchange rate that has to be fixed as E, and here is the interest rate R. Okay. Now let us draw first of all ISLM and BP curves. So I'm going to draw the LM curve with the domestic credit and foreign exchange assets. Uh, Suppose the LM curve is this one, okay, and here is the BP curve, and initial IS curve is this. Let us mark them. First of all, this is LM curve with domestic credit DC node and foreign exchange assets FE node. This is balance of payment curve BP, okay, with exchange rate E node, BP E node is the exchange rate that is given to us ultimately. Uh, this is IS node for G node government expenditure, and obviously E node exchange rate. Exchange rate has to be fixed. Okay, and let us assume uh, no, this one is the 45-degree line. Okay, and with this 45-degree line, we will be converting the axis, right? Uh, and exchange rate is given as E bar. Let us suppose exchange rate is given to us, right? This exchange rate is given to us. I change this line. Yes. Initial equilibrium is at point P. at point P, where rate of interest is R naught. Okay, rate of interest is R naught. P is the equilibrium, initial equilibrium, at which R naught is the initial interest rate, and obviously Y naught is the equilibrium level of income given initially. Y naught. Okay. This E naught is the exchange rate. E naught, right? Uh, if I draw the income level from this 45-degree line, this comes out to be here, Y naught. Okay. It means my current account equilibrium line, that is nx is equal to 0 line, will pass through like here. This is nx is equal to 0 line. Yeah, this is nx is equal to 0 line. इसी अगर इसको ऐसा कर लें तो ये बेटर रहेगा. Yes, this is nx is equal to 0 line. Okay, so I can write it as nx is equal to 0. This current account equilibrium line is this. Fine. If I draw the FFY naught curve, this would be my FFY naught curve passing from here. Yes, this is my foreign flows at Y naught level of income. Right. I hope this much is clear to all of you that this is the situation of autarky, means the initial equilibrium, point Q. Then we have here all points are marked. This is R naught again, interest
Excuse me,
rate.
sir.
हाँ जी बच्चे.
Sir, some students are trying to join.
हाँ.
Sir, some students are trying to join class.
Okay. So बच्चे, R0 is the interest rate, P is the equilibrium, Y naught is the equilibrium level of income. Suppose government exercise of expansionary fiscal policy and increases government expenditure from G naught to G1. So your IS will shift to say point like your IS curve will shift upward, say at this point, right? Now this is my IS curve with G1 expenditure and E naught exchange rate, because exchange rate will not change. So economy will be in initial equilibrium, in temporary equilibrium at point M. Okay, at point M. Now we can derive different points at point M. This is the level of income, the interest rate. Okay, the interest rate. Then we have um, this is, let it be R1 or R2. Let it be R2. Okay, because this is the temporary equilibrium. Let it be R2. I will be using, or R1. R1 ले लेते हैं, not an issue. Let it be R1, the temporary equilibrium. Okay. Y1 is the level of temporary equilibrium, level of income. So Y1. Y1 is the temporary equilibrium. We can mark it like this. Okay. Y1, higher income level, lower interest rate. Y1 is the income level, higher income level. No, with this higher income level, obviously we are in the deficit portion. Say we are at point M N. Okay, N is my point to the left of net exports curves. Obviously, we are observing deficit in current account because income has increased. So import demand has increased. So we due to increase in import demand, net exports have means current account has been deteriorated. We are at point 10 in temporary equilibrium, and obviously at a higher means since exchange rate is fixed, new rate of interest is R1. I will be drawing what you say the foreign flow curves at this point. Okay, this is my FFY1 line. Okay, FFY1 line. The FFY1 line. Now, what happens due to this existing deficit? Obviously, point M is to the left of BP curve. The left of BP curve is now basically what happens as income rise. See, you can observe that increase in income is lesser than increase in interest rate. See this difference. Uh, if I am having that bracket, no, that bracket is not available. See, see the size of this line, okay, and size of this line. So increase in interest rate is more than increase in level of income. So we can say that the surplus in what you say the current account is surplus in the capital account is more than the deficit in current account. That's why there will be net surplus in the what you say overall balance of payment. That's why point M is to the, you can say, at the left of balance of payment curve. At the left of balance of payment curve, we have balance of payment surplus. So point M is the temporary equilibrium. Point M is the temporary equilibrium, which is showing the surplus in balance of payment. So when the surplus in balance of payment is there, the surplus in balance of payment will cause the accumulation of foreign exchange. Okay, that's why the foreign exchange reserves of the economy will increase. Since exchange rate is fixed, the balance of payment has to remain the same. It won't shift from its place. Rather, the LM curve will shift to right. Say this is my LM, new LM curve, LM. Domestic credits are still same, but foreign exchange assets have increased from FE0 to FE1 because of surplus in foreign exchange that we have earned due to surplus in a capital account. Okay, let it be point uh, O. O is the permanent equilibrium of the economy. At point O, income is further higher than even Y1. Okay, why it is higher? Because comparatively, in comparison to R1, interest rate has fallen, and this interest rate fall will cause some private. It will induce some private investment. See, when the interest rate falls from R0 to R1 to R2, this will induce some private investment. This private investment will cause level of income to rise to Y2. Okay, right now income has increased from Y1 to Y2. This income is even higher than the income at temporary equilibrium Y1, temporary equilibrium M. So we can say that with higher level of income at Y1 means at Y2, this is the Q. We have used Q, no. This Q is the what you say point of current account deficit. Obviously, current account deficit has a further increased.
सर
Okay,
हमने क्यू यूज़ करी है नीचे।
हाँ,
सर क्यू पॉइंट तो नीचे हमने वाई ज़ीरो पे लिया था ना।
क्यू कहाँ से लिया था बच्चे?
सर नीचे वाई ज़ीरो पे।
हाँ, क्यू ले लिया है ना। आर लिया है कि नहीं अभी कहीं पे? आर हम इंटरेस्ट ले ले रहे हैं
नहीं
ना।
सर आर नहीं लिया।
एस ले लेते हैं। लेट इट बी एस, let it be s, not the q. Q we have already taken. Let it be point s. So my point s will show increased deficit. Okay, if I say if I fill up this deficit, q, and this red area was the deficit, because the earlier deficit at what do you say temporary equilibrium M, uh, this pink area has this much deficit has been added in current account. If we say the capital account, obviously the capital account, now this FF curve will shift down. This is the new, but level of income is still higher. So ultimately, it is higher than Y1. So FFY1 we have to shift like exchange rate E. We have to construct some FF line. FFY2 obviously will be constructed here. This, this FFY1. Yeah, FFY2. Y2 has to be constructed on this side. Yes, this is the anyhow. This is the FFY2 area because Y is 2 is higher than this. So we can observe that R2 is the interest rate. F2 uh, interest rate is lower. Earlier surplus was, I show you, the earlier surplus was FF, we shifted to this line. We shifted to FF1. Uh, so FF1. This entire area was the surplus. FFY1. Yes. This entire area is basically the surplus because of what you say increase in rate of interest to R1. But once R1 has been reduced to R2, what will happen? This yellow area of the surplus will be reduced. This yellow area surplus in capital account will be reduced, but still we can say that uh, what do you say, with still surplus, and this surplus will basically be just sufficient to match this deficit in what do you say, current account. So here again the balance of payment will be achieved. Means since point O is at BP curve, so there will be means whatever the your current account, your overall balance of payment will be in balance. Is whatever the surplus will be available in capital account in brown area, that will be sufficient to meet this deficit available through red and pink area in current account. So balance of payment O is in balance at point O in the long run, but overall result is income is higher, interest rate is comparatively lower, but ultimately a net interest rate increase is observed from R0 to R2. Okay, though it is not observed from R0 to R1, but it is observed from R0 to R2. So fiscal policy is no doubt has increased interest rate, increased level of income, current account deficit is there. So we can write the key points, like we can write the key points. Is there any need to write the explanation of diagram? Tell me. I think we should write only key points, isn't it? Or rather, we should concentrate on key points only. Uh, so initial equilibrium at point P, where IS is equal to LM is equal to BP, right? Number two, as G rises, government expenditure rises, the IS curve shifts to IS D1. D naught exchange rate is fixed, but government expenditure has increased from D naught to D1, so it has shifted to right to IS G naught even. Okay, temporary equilibrium is at point M. Okay, 4 at M, income increased are also increased. Okay, higher R will increase or will enhance capital inflow, and higher Y will increase import demand, and so deteriorate current account. Okay, as point 5, as M is to the left of BP curve, so there exists surplus in BP because the increase in inflow is increase in capital inflow is higher than the deterioration in current account. Okay, so M is in surplus. BP surplus will get will cause accumulation of foreign reserves, and so FE rises from FE naught to FE1, and thus LM curve shifts to LM DC naught, domestic credit remains same, FE1, right? The BP curve cannot shift as exchange rate is rigid or fixed. So at point O, the new equilibrium, which is also called the permanent equilibrium, is established. Okay, at O, income is higher. Okay, the rate of interest is higher, but comparatively lesser than comparatively lesser than, are at temporary equilibrium. Okay, the point O is at TP curve, so the surplus in capital account is just sufficient to meet deficit in uh, current account, and so the BOP is balanced, that is BOP is equal to 0. In sum, the fiscal policy brings about following changes. Okay, number one, a rise in interest rate and income, and a surplus in BOP in short run. Number two, a further increase in income and decline in interest rate from its short run level with no change in overall balance of payment. That is accompanied by current account deficit and capital account surplus. Right? These are the major outcomes of what you say exercise of fiscal policy. Let us compare fiscal policy and monetary policy in what you say fixed exchange rate system. Yeah, these are the outcomes of fiscal policy. Fiscal policy outcomes. Now let us talk about monetary policy outcomes. Okay, monetary policy outcomes. Monetary policy outcomes were number one, a decline in interest rate and increase in income and a deterioration in current and capital accounts in short run. Hope you remember. Okay. Number one was a decline in foreign exchange reserves with no change in interest rate, income, or the BP in long run. And how obviously now we can conclude on the basis of this comparison that which policy is better in such type of system, because you are the policy manager and you have to decide which policy to exercise in India. On the basis of these outcomes, you can decide which policy you have to exercise, right? So, outcomes of fiscal and monetary policy. And hope you may conclude that which policy is better. Obviously, in such type of system, fiscal policy is much better than monetary policy. Conclusion: fiscal policy is better than monetary policy in such type of economy. Right? Where exchange rate is fixed, fiscal policy is better, monetary policy is not better. It means monetary policy is not flexible enough. You can say that then monetary policy will not be effective when exchange rate is fixed. So when exchange rate is flexible, then only monetary policy can be effective. And obviously, for effectiveness, the mobility of capital must be there. If capital is not mobile at all, even then the monetary policy will not be effective. So mobile what do you say, mobility is needed. Some mobility is needed if you want to have free monetary policy. If you have the want to have the effectiveness of monetary policy, and this can happen when exchange rate is flexible, not rigid. So if you have to decide, means there are three objectives. Say, uh, suppose there are three objectives: stable oblique, fixed exchange rate. Okay. Number two, monetary policy sovereignty or effectiveness. And number three, the third is obviously what we say, mobility of capital. So the trilemma says, the policy trilemma says, the Trinity says, the policy trilemma says only two out of the above three objectives can be attained. Okay, right? Most of the economies these days have chosen the later two or uh, the have chosen the second and third objectives, while the stability of exchange rate is completely foregone. That is, the economies are following flexible, market oriented exchange rate system. Right? ठीक है बच्चों. If we compare outcome of fiscal and monetary policy in fixed exchange rate economy and outcome of fiscal and monetary policy in flexible exchange rate economy, then this conclusion emerges that out of the three objectives, two objectives can be chosen and one objective has to be foregone by any economy, and ultimately the economies are they have chosen the second and third one, and they have foregone the first one because economies are now following the fully flexible exchange rate system. So exchange rate is not stable for these days economies. But this is called the policy trilemma or Trinity, international Trinity in other language. So, Bachit, that was all about your unit one. Now I will be taking your attendance.